What do you think the best camera of the year is? Could it possibly be a Pentax? Question mark.
Steven, welcome to your last episode of 2026. Fuck, 2025. I said it wrong.
You're definitely going to do another one before the end of the year. Guarantee it.
Well, I have to say your last episode, just in case Jared gets bored being a Jew around Christmas.
100% you're going to be bored day one.
Like, what am I? Well, I have to
December
go to the
25th.
house.
What am I going to do today? How about a podcast?
Well, on the 25th, that's Christmas, right?
Yes.
I go to my brother's house in the morning before the kids get awake. And I'm downstairs waiting to take their pictures before they come downstairs. I've been doing it since they got the kids, which was like, they were 2.5 adopted. So maybe for their second, right when they were turning 3. So almost 10. Well, they just turned 11. So
11?
About 9 years, 8 years of doing this. And even during the pandemic, I stood out front as they stood on the stairs, and I shot through the window.
I remember,
which is a really good. And I was using Sony at that time. That was an A1. That was a really good photo of them. I mean, I was disappointed I couldn't go in, but then I was like, but this is a really the photo is a meaningful thing because of what was happening.
It's a nice creepy voyeur shot.
Well, but it looks really good.
I know.
And so the kids know to wait for me at the top of the stairs, and then I say, go ahead. And then my brother has these really bad flickering lights on, so I should probably try to balance it with the flicker reduction this year. And I probably will take the R1, and I use a 28-70. So whatever. But anyway,
and you're fully electronic shutter on that camera, correct?
Yeah, I never use I don't even think about turning on the mechanical shutter of any camera anymore.
I'm the opposite. I'm like mechanical all day unless I need electronic.
Yeah, I mean the camera's. I guess it can do 10 frames a second. I guess I could use it. I don't even.
12.
I just don't think about it.
Yeah,
I don't. I just don't think about it, and I could use it, but I don't even consider it anymore. Just because. But this is probably Steven's last of the year. I'll get bored and I'll make an episode doing something. But like I said, after I go to my brother's house, I'll be going to my dad's house because he's going to be getting ready to move soon. And I have to go into the basement and rescue a bunch of the stuff that was there from when I was a kid. So, hey guys, this is episode number 180. Steven just reminded me that it's been almost 3 years that we've been doing the reboot of this. Mm-hmm. But I've been podcasting since 2010.
Here we go.
It's like the end of 2010.
I was one of the first to do it.
I was one of the first to do video podcasts.
Back in my day.
I remember sitting there with Gary Vee on like episode 14 or 17 with one GoPro and just talking to him, or the founder of StubHub sitting with him. Could have been different if I just focused on interviews.
Was I before Gary Vee? Because I was RAWtalk number 2.
Yeah, you were number 2.
Yeah. And who was Richie 1?
Leora was supposed to be my co-host, but that made it very difficult over time.
Yeah.
We tried. See, I always tried to have a female involved. Like I tried to bring females involved. It becomes much more difficult unless you hire someone full time. And if you hire someone full time, it's like they need to be able to do other stuff.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, you were there. I think Richie might have been the first and you were the second episode.
That's when you had the poker table.
Yeah, I mean, the poker table's over there. It might get resurrected one day.
But that's when you actually used it. You would hand out poker chips if we said something that you liked or something, if I recall.
Yeah, you said in the thing, I would throw it. How many poker chips you get, Steven?
I was like, this makes no sense. We're not even playing poker.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. So anyway, that's a lot of episodes and a lot of years of podcasting from the bigger show with Todd and you and
Dan.
Dan, but who do we have? We had Joe and we had Steve Sutter and Joe, and that was pretty much it. Anyway, we've got a lot of stuff to talk about today. Some housekeeping, and by housekeeping, we just did housekeeping. I'm going to talk about a podcast I suggest you guys check out. We're going to talk about the Vanity Fair photos and the ChatGPT post that I made on Instagram that I knew would get people, like I literally said, I know you guys are going to comment. I'm not saying I'm for or against. I'm showing what's capable. And of course, people are like, you did this on purpose. I'm like, no, I did it because it's interesting. We'll talk about that. And then we're going to get into what our favorite videos were of the year, as well as what's the last thing? industry predictions, Steven?
Predictions, and also like what's the best gear of the year, the worst gear of the year. We're going to dive deep into all of that. That's going to be a majority of the show, I'd say.
All right, so quickly, I'm going to talk about this Linus Tech Tips. If you don't know who Linus is, he's one of the largest tech YouTubers. I think he's 16 or 17 million subscribers at this point. And he was on a podcast by this guy, John Youshai, Youshhaei, who himself used to work for YouTube and Instagram as a one of those people that would help creators, like the partner program type thing, and then thought that he could go out on his own and do it. And he's built a 600,000+ following, and he focuses on interviewing, very similar to what Colin and Samir are doing in their world, who seem to be the wonderkin of the YouTube sphere for this generation. For some reason, they always like bring them out to talk and whatnot. But I highly suggest it. We'll put the link in the show notes. There. You could go on Spotify and look up John Youshai. You don't have to watch the video podcast they have, but the reason I'm talking about this is because he gives you an inside look into how his channel operates, the ups and the downs, how he makes money. He shows a chart for where all the money comes from. He talks about numbers for certain product showcases. He talks about product showcases versus advertising, and how there's not a conflict of interest when someone advertises with them, but they also review their products separate. He explains the reasoning and everything behind how it makes total sense. And I sat there the whole time shaking my head going, yeah, exactly.
That's what we do.
That's what we do.
I just can't believe how transparent Linus was. He let him look at the whole back end of his YouTube Studio app and revealed that over time, they made over $26 million in AdSense? Insane.
But he's like, but I've paid out more than $26 million in salaries because he has 100 employees.
I remember when he got his 40th employee and thinking like that's just crazy. And now he has over 100. Mind-blowing that he built this. I don't know how he built the company from the ground up this fast.
Is it even necessary to have that many employees?
I still remember when they were in a house, he brought up that story, and there was only like 5 or 6 employees, and they were bootstrapping it for the most part, and literally turned a house into a studio space until they got kicked out by the community.
Sounds familiar, Steven.
Exactly.
He talks about how he started with 2 employees right off the rip.
Yeah.
Just he went right into it. So
with no money.
And I highly recommend you listen to this, because if you want an inside look of a real YouTube channel, it's very similar to how we do it, just on a different scale and different numbers. Yeah. But it is I just sat there the whole time and shook my head like, yep. And I've been sending it to my guy who takes care of advertising. I'm sending it to other people that advertise with us. I'm sending it to other people that are in the industry that hire different creators all the time, so that they could listen to this and hear what a real YouTuber does and the reasoning behind the long-term deals. Last thing I'll say is he's like, there's a time where a company came with way too much money, and I said I couldn't deliver as much value as you want. Yeah. We rather work with you long-term to show you value than take all of this money up front and make it a one-time thing. And I'm like, well, that sounds familiar.
Very, very familiar.
So, yeah. He talks about brand deals, his biggest brand deal. Do you know what our biggest brand deal was forever? Was making a video?
For a single video?
It ended up being 2 videos.
Was it the Intel one?
Well, no. So there was an Intel one back in the day, which was a rush job, and they paid like $25,000. We wouldn't normally do it. I don't want to mention the name of the other one, but the other one was a phone company.
Oh, yes. I do remember. Yes.
It was so they come along, this is some inside baseball.
Stupid money.
They come along and my I don't want to do it. I'm like, I don't want to do it. So I told my ad guy, I'm like, tell him a stupid number. Tell him $50,000. And they did it.
Crazy.
But it was a good video. We ended up doing a really good job with it.
We had to. I felt that we really had to. I'm like, we need to deliver, because this is a lot of money for a single video. And I believe Linus on that podcast brought up that one of the bigger deals that they did was 50 grand. And I'm like, there's no way. He must do way bigger numbers, especially for long-term deals.
That was an NVIDIA number, but that could have been 10. You never know. That could have been 10, 12 years ago.
NVIDIA.
Well, but that could have been a while ago. He should have said, I'll take stock options instead of the $50,000.
Oh, man, imagine.
Because that would have been quite a lot.
At the right time, yeah.
highly recommended. Go listen to it if you want an inside look, inside baseball of a YouTube channel. Total transparency. It's kind of like when you talk to me off air, Steven, or other people talk to me. I have no problem sharing. In fact, I talked to another YouTuber recently who also has a very large business outside of YouTube. He's in the woodworking sphere, and we started to have a conversation, and he's sharing numbers straight up. And he's like, can I ask you what your revenue was? If that's okay to ask. I'm like, well, you just sat here telling me everything. All I ever look for are other YouTubers and other creators to just share their numbers so that we can have a real conversation. I'm like, I'm sharing them with you. And here they are. And it was awesome. The thing that I'll leave you with is that every time we talk to other creators, you realize that the same exact things we worry about are the same things they worry about, and it's all the same for the high level creators like us. And I consider us high level.
We're all on the same page, that's for sure.
So let's move on to this Vanity Fair thing that people keep asking me about. If you don't know what's going on and you look up Vanity Fair Trump White House photos or Vanity Fair photos in the latest issue, a photographer, well, it says photographer defends his Vanity Fair photos of press secretary Carolyn Levitt, but he also photographed everybody else in there, from the vice president to a few other people that are involved in the administration, and people are up in arms with how the choice of framing, the choice of not touching things up, the choice of color, the choice of lighting, the choice of everything. And when you look at these things, people want to know, Jared, what do you think? And I actually follow this photographer. I've been following him for years. His name's Christopher Anderson. And I realized I just checked my messages with him, and I sent him a message back in 2020 because he put out a book of his work. And I'm like, I want to buy this. And the only way I could get it was from Europe, because he's, I believe, well, he may live here now, but he travels quite a lot. And I believe it's photos of his family, his wife, his kids, just awesome stuff. So if you go to his Christopher Anderson photo, you can see his stuff on his Instagram, and you can see the photos of like Stephen Miller, which is just a really... The big question that people are asking is, did he choose to try to make them look bad or not? And you can make up your own decision and your own mind if he tried to make them look bad or not.
I think it's pretty obvious. I don't know, man. 1,000% tried to make them look bad. If this was the previous administration, I guarantee the photos would not look like this.
The one of Marco Rubio standing, looking like he's standing like Trump's bad posture, with the door open, the lines aren't straight.
He's looking at the lamp.
It looks like he's put in the corner. It's like little Marco in the corner. Yeah, in timeout. Like, that's what that looks like. And the colors are, the colors aren't very good. And I think they're left cold to try to convey the coldness that the administration feels to 100%. A lot of people.
Yeah.
So it's... The Carolyn Levitt photo, I mean, the fact that you can see the injection marks for her Botox or whatever the hell, the filler that she's putting into her lips, is pretty evident. And it's just, and all the wrinkles and all the pores, and people are like, well, why didn't you touch it up? And the answer is, well, these are real people. But you look at the other celebrity photos and you're like, yeah, they take a different look. They do different lighting and made different choices altogether. The Carolyn Levitt's thing is like super harsh lighting. When you look at the photo that's super tight of the vice president, of Vance, I mean, it looks like that meme that goes around of that big fat head meme with him. And it's not flattering at all. He's got shit on his lips. His eyes are always receded, and he just looks old and not flattering.
When we say extreme close-ups, we're talking like from right above the eyes to right below the lips. Not a crop, but it looks like just an insane crop of just that portion of the face for each of these people. And it's incredibly unflattering.
Well, here's what he said on his post, and it has all the photos on his post. I don't know who the other woman is, Susie somebody or other. She looks like a deer in headlights with her eyes wide open, and the framing and the shit. Like, it's so like cold. It needs to add some magenta. It needs to add some warmth. It's just shot a certain way. Here's what he wrote on his Instagram. He said, "So this happened. If I'm honest, I was hesitant to accept the assignment from Vanity Fair magazine to photograph the Trump administration. I assumed incorrectly that I was being asked to wear my celebrity photographer hat. My journalistic sensibility just would not be comfortable portraying politicians the way celebrity photographers have in similar portfolios of past administrations. Not the subject, not this context. To my surprise, global director Jennifer Pastone assured me that this was not that job and that he could basically go on and do his own thing. The internet seems shocked by the choice to not retouch any blemishes or wrinkles. It's shocking to me that the world expects reality to be removed from a picture. My intention is not mockery or cheap shots. I'd like to think I'm a stone-faced but critical observer. Celebrity photos are celebrity photos. Politicians are not celebrities. Let's not mix things up. So I disagree with that personally.
But these aren't even like standard headshots.
No.
There's an intent to make these look purposely bad, in my opinion.
Yeah. So I don't agree that celebrity photos are celebrity photos. So therefore they should be touched up more than a regular person's photos. I'm a big fan of not touching up photos to the extent going way over the top.
Sure.
I always talk about you want to take away blemishes that shouldn't be there or pimples that show up on a wedding day. Fine, by all means do that. But when you start to go in there and you go beyond the skin smoothing, your presets that you did in FroPack 4 are subtle. They are subtle. You can do less, you can do more.
They can be subtle, yes.
They can be subtle. I'm the fan of being subtle, more on the subtle side, and I don't like, for example, Manny Ortiz has a style of editing. It's a very polished, high-end looking fashion type of edit that smooths out the skin and there is no pores, and I'm not a fan of that particular style. That's not throwing him under the bus. That's saying I'm not a fan of it. But everybody is used to seeing celebrities perfectly touched up. But even if you're not going to perfectly touch somebody up, there is still a way to make it more flattering. These were taken in a way that make them look less flattering, and it's a choice that he made for his way of doing it, and that is what it is.
And then you have the 2-page spread, the group shot, which
it's
looks
fine.
great. Yeah. That's why I'm like, I think there was an intent to make these purposely unflattering.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to comment on political images like I've done in the past with Trump, and I got a lot of shit for saying that I liked somewhat his look in his portraits, but technically those photos are garbage.
Yeah.
And his White House photographer is not very good at what he's doing. Right. You can see that in the images that come out, or the images where he's next to a photojournalist that's been doing this a long time. Like if he's next to Evan Vucci or somebody, you're looking at Evan Vucci's choices versus his, and you're like, yeah, there's a big difference between the White House photo and the press photo that the press is taking. It's just a skill set that the other person didn't have. But anyway, take a look at the Vanity Fair photos. You can make your own decisions and your own choices up, obviously. I do think that choices were made to make them look cold, to make them look harsh. He does, if you look at his Instagram, Christopher Anderson, you can see that he has, Christopher Robbins is what comes to mind. I think of Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah.
You can see that he definitely has other celebrity portraits that are in a similar vein, but more flattering.
Way more. Yeah.
So these are not flattering. Let's call a spade a spade. And that's what that's my feedback and what I have to say about those photos. But people are talking about them, which moves the needle for the Vanity Fair, which I don't read personally. Now moving on, let's talk about the post I put on Instagram the other day, the ChatGPT post, where I used the new ChatGPT function to basically make a model who I want to sleep with. That wasn't part of what I wrote, but I was just like, oh, she's hot. Oh, so basically
She's
ChatGPT.
easy on the eyes for sure, yeah.
Yeah, she's hi.
Hi, AI
Oh shit,
model.
I'm fixated. This is her. She's in my ear right now. Oh, hi, Jared. Oh, hey, what are you doing later?
It's Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah, well, that is becoming more and more real every day, and that's why I don't believe in putting out a chat bot, which I talked to you about recently, that I will not put out a chat bot because I think that information changes way too quick, and I don't want people to think that they are actually talking to me and then get some bad advice that I personally wouldn't agree with because something may have changed over time. So I'm not doing an AI chatbot. I really don't think it's necessary or right. But ChatGPT put out a new image generator, and I tested it out and I wanted to see what would happen. And so I wrote and posted on Instagram. I said, ChatGPT announced a new image generation model today. This post isn't to tell you to use or not use AI image generation. It's simply to see what I was able to do with a prompt. And then I posted these images are 100% AI. I also clicked the button that said AI on the back end before you post, just to make it abundantly clear. I want it to be abundantly clear. So I wrote, here's the prompt I gave it. Quote, create a black and white portrait of a 20-year-old. Oh, she's 20? Shit. I should have made her older. So 20's too young. I can't. She looks older than 20.
She does.
Or maybe not. I would still.
I'd say mid to late 20s.
Yeah, she looks about 27 or 28.
Yeah.
Portrait of a 20-year-old female with blonde hair, a bob haircut, which I think is spelled wrong. I think it's B. How do you spell bob haircut? Is it B-O-B or is it B-O-B-T? Is it bobbed?
I think it's B-O-B. Yeah.
Okay, good. It's Bombs Over Baghdad, haircut, and beautiful eyes. She has freckles on her face. Capture the image with a Leica M6 and Ilford 100 ISO film with a 35 1.4 lens. Take the photo, and then I added take the photo in Paris. And this is the image that it came up with.
Damn.
I mean, it's gorgeous.
Yeah, it's good. And this would fool me. I would never know that this was an AI image. This legit looks like a true photograph.
It looks very good.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if we studied it long enough, we'd be like, yeah, that bokeh doesn't look right, or that angle, or some of the background.
Pretty damn close. Usually, like the weird skin smoothing and texture, you kind of can tell. That's the giveaway. There's still a little bit of a cartoony look to it. But this truly looks like a photograph. Even the hair. Everything.
Though, what is kind of what could potentially be thrown off is that I said 1.4, and like her nose is in focus, her chest is in focus, her neckline, her like all of that.
Yeah, but the fall off is right there. I mean,
it is.
It's not a direct crazy headshot where it's filling the entire frame with the head like Christopher Anderson would do.
Well, yeah. So I think her nose might or should be slightly out of focus, but whatever. If you're just passing this, the majority of the world would look at this and think it's a real photograph. But that wasn't my point. And I said the first image is what it came up with. Then I decided I wanted to add sprocket holes and film stock used. This took another 3 prompts to get more correct. And someone pointed out that it can't get correct how many actual sprocket holes there are between. I have to go through and count how many there are because I could probably prompt it to do that, right?
Sure, yeah.
And then I said, I'm well aware. Okay. I said, while I was at it, I prompted it to change the image to color, keep the same model, but shoot it on Kodachrome in 1960s Paris.
Wow.
And then I said, I'm well aware this comment section is going to fill up. This tool will 100% take certain jobs away from photographers. And I'm sure I could upload my I Shoot Raw shirt and tell it to place it on a specific model and use it on the sales page. And I went ahead and then I was like, and I did. So I prompted to do a 1990s style photo of this woman using 400 speed film, wearing the I Shoot Raw shirt that I just uploaded a basic screen grab of that I took years ago, and it put it on her.
Even the wrinkles in the shirt, everything looks so real.
It does look really good.
It really does.
Usable. A few more things here. And then I wrote, I think model day rates just went down along with the photographers.
Yeah.
I can basically come up with a new shirt design, upload it, tell it who I want wearing it, and in minutes have it posted online. Like it or not, it is what it is. So I got a lot of comments like, we're cooked, or how dare you? Like one guy wrote that, what's his name? Tony Northrup said, we're cooked. And I wanted to reply, well, I suggested using the EVF instead of holding it out in front of you. No, I'm just kidding. No, Jason Polin, who's an Australian photographer, he wrote that this is the typical bullshit I hate that people write. You're better than this. Like starting something off with that, come to me personally or don't, which is fine. AI slop is being forced down our throats where we have no use or need except for sloppy entertainment. And I replied back to him because AI slop is downloading Sora, the app Sora, and doing dumb shit. That's AI slop for entertainment value. I also try not to watch AI slop videos on Instagram that get sent to me, like the ones that are like comedy. I just think that is 100% slop. So I don't do that. This isn't for entertainment. This was for testing out. And then it's like, take a look at the energy and water required for one image or daily use of a data center. I don't give a fuck. That's not my problem. I'm not in control of how much data these fucking data centers use. If the governments want to put restrictions on it, then put restrictions on it. On the flip side, if it somehow we can get better electric grids that haven't been updated since the 1950s and 60s, maybe it's time that we do that and look for other ways of renewing energy. By the way, Christopher Anderson just liked the message I sent him. So I just saw that pop up because I'm on Instagram reading this. And I have no control over AI being used or not. Maybe they'll come up with better chips that use less data, but I can't say me not using it. It's like me recycling a bottle. Like that's going to make a difference.
You hope it will.
You hope it will, but it doesn't.
I know.
It doesn't stop the industrial polluters.
Only 10% of it actually gets recycled half the time anyway.
Exactly. So anyway, he basically told me I was, whatever. I replied back. I don't know if he replied. I said, I did not jump on the Sora bandwagon as that's AI slop. I'm educating and informing with my post. I can't control what the government will do, blah, blah, blah. And he says, well, that brings my faith back in you. I'm like, well, but why did you instantly jump to you're better than this? Stop jumping to stupid fucking conclusions like that. Moral of the story is it was pretty impressive what this thing was able to do. And then I showed you a graphic that it created because the other thing, and then we'll move on, that ChatGPT offered was making product images. And what I found interesting was the prompt that ChatGPT put in itself to make the image. And if you are looking to use AI, which I highly suggest you at least learn it, you can use them for free without paying. I pay the $20 a month to be able to use it. But if you're using it, ask it, what is the right prompt to do the thing that you're trying to do? And it will direct you. So here's what it did to make a high-end image for my iShootRaw shirt demo. Create a high-end commercial product photo of an item in the image, perfectly upright, three-quarter view, fully visible, floating slightly above a pure white background. Use studio composite lighting, in parentheses, soft fill plus directional highlights with controlled HDR-like tonal separation and immaculate edge integrity. No logos, text, or brand-coded elements visible. Deep focus across the product. No background blur. Clean premium retouch realism. And it knocked it out of the freaking park. So I posted those stories on Instagram, just going through, showing people what it could do. And the last one that I did, which I'm not showing yet because it's for a charity shirt that I'm working on, I literally uploaded the graphic of the shirt from the designer. I did the same thing that I just read. And then I literally said, place the t-shirt on Jared Polin of Frono's photo. And what did it create, Steven?
It created someone that doesn't look like you, in my opinion.
I sent it to my friend and she's like, it looks like a happy you. I'm like, well, yeah, it's not me. It's pretty damn close with the positioning, the hands in the pocket, because it definitely found an image of me looking like that. But the smile isn't my smile. The relaxedness of the face doesn't look like me. The eye shape is a little off. But in passing, it would be perfect if I was just like, create a model that looks like this and put a shirt on it. I could use that all day in a store. All day. The moral of the story with the AI thing is that I was making is this is what it's doing. You should at least learn how to use it to understand if you can use it in your everyday life for something that's going to save you time and money. And does that mean models are going to lose jobs? Yes. Does it mean photographers and graphic designers will lose jobs? 100%. It's not the first time this ever has happened in the history of people being replaced. It is what it is. I'm going to use it, and you've been using it without knowing you've been using it for years. When you get in the car and Google Maps goes, do you want to go to this destination? Because it's in your calendar that you're going to be going to grandma's house? Yeah, all of that's AI. Slightly different, but it's still AI. Now let's move on to kind of recapping the year slightly and taking a look ahead with some predictions. But before we get into the predictions, let's talk about maybe what some of our favorite videos were from the year. Steven, take it away.
So I've got a couple. It's very hard for me to narrow these down. Obviously, they're very close to me because I've edited most of these myself. But I would say my overall favorite videos, and quite frankly, some of the hardest to make, are both the R1 and the R5 Mark II 1 year later reviews. I know the R1 was technically like a 6 months later review, but they're the culmination of all of our videos on these cameras. It's a giant summary of all of the ancillary content from the initial preview to the autofocus review where we put the R1 up against the A1 II, to the final sensors, putting them side by side against their predecessors along with the competition. And of course, having just many more months to test them out in the real world to make up a more refined opinion on these cameras. I think if you want to know what those cameras offer and the pros and cons, then these are the videos to watch. Just watch these 2 videos and you will know every single thing about these cameras. What's your favorite video of the year?
Well, they're dead to me as soon as they're out. Usually,
you like them for about 5 seconds, and then you're on to the next.
I was like, "That's great, good job, guys, awesome." There's 2 videos that aren't out yet that I potentially think are going to be really good. They're not even edited yet, but the potential for them to be good is there. It's following me around at the PGA golf event, making I used the 4x5, not sure what that's going to look like. And then we did something at a Civil War thing, which is good, like would be good. So when we get those out, they're going to be interesting.
You're talking about videos that aren't done yet.
I know they're not done yet, but they were my favorite ones because they involve like me shooting.
You don't even know what I shot.
Well, I know I don't know what you shot, but I know that the Civil War thing, I got some amazing photos, and we have some potential to make some cool look at like real shooting with old school camera. I don't know. I love our the what you were able to whip out last week, 2 weeks ago with the A7 V is pretty impressive. I think when those videos, when there's time, even though you didn't have a lot of time for it, those videos are the most impressive. They are long, but they talk about people not having an attention span to watch a long video. And I counter that with, if the video was good, people would sit and watch. And you see it with the types of long form content that other channels are doing. They're quality. And people stick around to watch. We see over 10-minute average watch time on those 30-minute videos. 10 minutes average watch time, right? It's like 50% of the people continue to watch the whole video.
I think the biggest thing is that we work on is if you say it, show it. And it's not a talking head video for 35 minutes. So that is something we strive for in every single video that we do. Unless it's like a rant video. Then I'm like, all right, you know what? This is more of an opinion piece. Jared, go to town. I don't mind just hearing you rant the entire time. But we're very big on, again, say it, show it.
Yeah, I'm going through some of them now. The how lenses are made could have been the greatest video ever if we had full support from Canon, which we hope to get one day.
I've talked about that video, and honestly, I was going to bring up that was probably one of my more disappointing videos of the year, just because, again, the potential of what it could have been and what we got, which was next to nothing.
It's not our fault. It's just what the restrictions were.
It's just what we had, which was like 2 minutes of recording. We couldn't film anything. So
but you still did a great job putting that together, and hopefully it laid the groundwork to be like, guys, let us cook.
Yeah, I was just so handcuffed with that video, with everything, with the filming, the edit, everything.
Yeah,
it's tough.
So that would be a good one.
Speaking of the R6 Mark III, runners up would probably be that preview, along with like the Sigma 300 to 600 review. Both of those videos are just so well rounded.
300 to 600. I went to town. I flew to Florida. I did like 4 different shoots down there.
Let's get to the R6 III first. You took that to a union soccer game along with other action sports like you did field hockey, flag football, cyclocross, skateboarding, even did portraits in low light at a Modest Yahoo concert, a little bit of everything. You really put that camera through its paces in nearly every common tough scenario besides like birds in flight. And speaking of birds in flight, the Sigma 300 to 600 review, another action-packed video. That thing was nearly 40 minutes long. You did do birds in flight at Conowingo Dam. You did women's lacrosse, baseball with the Mets, spring training in Florida.
There's no crying in baseball.
You went on an airboat, did more birds in flight, other animals there too.
Can I tell you what was cool about the airboat, Steven? I had two readers come with me.
Yeah.
I just reached out and those girls like, yeah. So by the way, I stayed at the place called Evermore. That guy came and rode with me. And then there was one other guy that reached out and I was like, yeah, guys, meet me here at the boat dock and we're going to go, you join me.
Yeah. You can see him in the review. And then you also did golf, the Arnold Palmer Invitational with Mystery Man.
Yeah. Junior and Vince Carter, the basketball player. So,
but the coolest thing about that video also was just like you filmed yourself the entire time with a lot of like Insta360 products. Not that this is a plug, but you did like POV, 360, all kinds of stuff. And it just made it a really, really well-rounded review. And it was also a monster edit. But that's another video that like if you're looking to get the 300 to 600 f4, that tells you everything about the lens from setting it up to using it in the real world to the final product. I mean, it's the end game for a review like that.
So that's a 38-minute and 3-second video that did an average view duration of 10 minutes and 50 seconds. Average percentage viewed was 28.5. It gets, longer videos, there's obviously going to be some drop off or people watch at different points, but still over 10 minutes and 50 seconds is the average watch time, which means a lot of, probably 30% plus of those people more went through the entire video.
It's a good watch. It's entertaining.
Just for fun, does anybody have any idea? It did 149,400 views. Any idea how much revenue that made, Steven? If you had to guess?
Did we get that many views right off the rip, or did that take some time?
I don't know. Let me see. Views.
I'm going to say like $2,000.
No, you are so far off. These videos, no, $764.72. People don't understand what goes into this.
I mean, especially if you account for how long it took me to edit that. I think that was a 2-week edit, if I recall. That was a monster edit because remember, you came back with like 10 plus hours of EVF recordings, 360 footage, all kinds of stuff, tons of photos for me to go through. And that was, it reminded me of like a camera preview, like you did with the A7 IV. You came back from Safari with 15 hours of footage that I had to cull through. And that alone takes days.
What I think is going to be interesting, and I've alluded to, hiring someone, and it might be interesting. Like we might be able to do 2 different things in the future where if someone's there filming with me, they could be making a behind the scenes look very similar to I really like the radio station video just because it's me, but that's what I've been wanting for a long time is someone that can go with me to these things and let's take people on a journey with us.
It just needs to be interesting. That's all.
Right.
Can't be the same thing over and over and over again because you like to do the same thing over and over again every day.
But if I'm going to Florida and this person's with me and we're getting all this other thing, he can make a behind the scenes of that and we still get the review stuff. So now we're doing even
Double
more.
dip. Yeah.
But since I mentioned money, any guesses as to what we've made this year on 14 million views on YouTube in 2025?
$65,000.
Nice.
Am I right?
$69,299.87 is what we've made off of AdSense. Let's see what 2024. We're not even going to get close to 2024. 2024 was 84,000.
Which I feel like we have almost more videos this year.
Well, we had 16 million views. We had 2.5 million more views. So our views fell off, which is, if you listen to Linus Tech Tips, he talks about views
the past year and a half, he said.
As well.
Yeah.
So we've seen it across the board, and it's not just us. But yeah, so far, $70,000. And the last one I'll tell you is just for fun. Lifetime. Any guesses on Lifetime?
Well, I know it's over 1 million because we made that video about making $1 million on YouTube.
303 million views, by the way, now.
I want to say 1.3.
It's $1,116,334.53.
Okay.
So it still only averages out to like 60,000, 65, 60, something $1,000 a year just for people knowing. But yeah, as views change, so does revenue. But what's interesting about Linus in the video is he says 1/9 of his revenue is made up of AdSense.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not going to give the number of what air is. I'd give it to you off air, but it's not like $70,000, doesn't cover someone's salary fully.
Yeah.
It's nice. It's not bad. I mean, it covers my my dinner for the year.
You don't make much off YouTube alone. Let's just say that. If you're a sole creator, it is really tough to make a decent living off of just YouTube without sponsored ad reads or products. Yeah. You really need to do that.
Yep. So anyway, those are my favorites that I come up with.
Yeah, so let me add to that too. I do have some notable mentions, like all of the Fun to Photographer videos.
Oh, yes.
They're, overall feel good, real videos, something different from our channel, where we help out struggling young photographers from Jeff to Christian to Cayenne, or even teachers like you did. Was it also Jeff, the teacher in Ohio, right?
I forget.
I think his name was Jeff as well. Just very, very heartwarming content that is really needed in this space, in my opinion. But they were a lot of fun to make, a little challenging to make them
presentable.
Presentable, yeah, because there were some awkward exchanges for sure during the filming of those. But
don't forget about Cam. But I know that was different, and that wasn't this year.
Yeah, that was like 2 years, like 3 years ago.
That's probably 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Because we've been in the studio for 2 years. Anyway, he just passed 400,000 followers on Instagram.
Good for him, man.
And
That
he's
kid's
traveling
killing
the
it.
world. And he's on private jets nonstop with, I never heard of Rod Wave. I don't know who
huge.
that guy is. He fills hockey arenas. So that's pretty amazing. And he's on the road with them. So...
And then wrapping up the favorite videos of the year, I do think we stepped up our game with the latest initial real-world previews from the A7 IV to the R6 III to the C50, where you finally really started shooting video as part of the preview. And it all started with the C50, and I was very nervous about that, being like, oh, this is like a cinema camera. How is Jared going to review this? Well, it's because I also set it up for you and you just had to hit record and frame.
Hey, Annie Leibovitz doesn't set up her own shit.
She just comes in and hits the shutter button and calls it a day.
You know me. Set it up for me, Steven. Just set me up for success.
Yeah, and we had to go over a lot of like, this is not still photography. You can't just take tight pictures. Like, give me everything from, like you always say, wides, medium, tights, and details. Make it look like it's a multi-camera shoot that I can really make a story out of it. And you did good. All those reviews.
The saving grace to the video I shot is the editor, right? Because you could shoot all the footage in the world, but if someone doesn't know how to edit it and put the story together, I suck.
Well, and for context too, you came back with 2 to 3 hours of footage from each of these previews that I had to make into like a 90-second montage, and that is obviously not easy. And I spiced it up a little bit with a lot of sound effects, decent music, stuff like that to really make it a good montage and to showcase the camera and what it could do. But yeah, I had to go through, 2-3 hours of footage, like I said. And then there's also the quirky fun reviews that we did that were a little different. We did the Sigma BF and the Fuji GFX 100 RF, 2 cameras that we probably wouldn't normally review, but they were just so different. And it was more like, let's take the camera around the city and shoot street photography and see what we come up with. I like those videos. It wasn't like, let's go shoot sports and the same thing over and over. It was, hey, let's just take it out in the real world around town and have fun with it.
The hope is, as a new employee comes on board, is the Fun to Photographer can evolve more, meaning like I can travel somewhere without needing you to go. And like, if I want to go drop off to Danny Clinch one day, a bunch of stuff for him to give to inner city kids in New Jersey, I could take a ride down to Asbury Park with the shooter, with the gear, and he can turn it into very similar to what I did in the radio station. Like, those are the things that
Fly on the wall. Yeah.
hoping to expand, that just give a different look into what we're doing. And then, oh man, I keep coming back to the Linus Tech Tips thing where he talks about when he left his original gig at a computer store.
NCIX
or when he was,
or something.
Yeah, he was making videos for them, and the first video he ever made was a heat sink, a copper heat sink. And they said to him, you need to sell. Why don't you promote our latest deal? And Linus said, I felt that education is more important, that if you educate people on how to use this stuff, they're going to turn around and buy it because you're not being a sleazy salesperson. How many times have I said that to you? Like, we are creating content for the long term. People are going to thank me by buying shit in the long term.
And there's videos like Fun to Photographer that just don't feel right trying to sell a product or plug something in the middle of them. Like, those just need to play out. You hope you earn long-term viewers at that point that stick around for future releases that then have plugs or some kind of call to action or some kind of sale, whatever.
Fun and informative.
Yep.
Those are the two. That's the ethos of Frono's Photo since day one. I guess people call that mission statement. I don't know what I didn't go to business school.
Which I felt like, by the way, Linus was describing his type of content the same way, like fun and informative.
Right, where you don't have to sell. I'm a fucking salesperson. I love it. I love selling.
You like the business end more than the creative end, in my opinion.
But I love selling without selling. My dad taught me well. I grew up listening to him as like a 5-6-year-old selling, honesty to people. Like, I don't like this product, so I really think you guys should skip it this year around. And that costs him money, but it comes back in spades in the long term when he's like, this is actually good this year. You should consider this. And so I just think people get sales so wrong. They just push the sizzle, not the, my dad says, sell the sizzle, not the steak. The steak is taking the camera box and reading, it's 12 megapixels. It's 4 frames a second. This is the old school. It does that. That's not sell what it's going to do for you. This is going to allow you to get pictures of your 2 kids that are, as they grow, running around that you're going to be really happy with. Oh, really? That's great. And then it comes down to education. If you teach people, they're less likely to return their shit. Anyway, that's a whole different podcast.
Let's get to some of the best gear of the year. And I think first we should start with
Panasonic.
We should start with best lens.
Yeah.
Do you want to go first?
I have nothing, Steven. I'm letting you go, and then I'm building off of you.
A lot of this we'll pretty much agree on.
Did the 50 to 150 come out this year?
That is the one that I'm starting with. I think that is the best lens of the year, yes.
Didn't they also come out with the 28 to 70 f2 this year as well?
I think that was last year.
Okay. The 50 to 150 is one of the most incredible pieces of glass and engineering ever made. Canon's got their 100 to 300 2.8. Sony has a 50 to 150 f2. It is so gorgeous. It produced some amazing results for the Sony shooters out in Kenya this year.
Yeah, the 28 to 70 was the end of last year, along with the A1 II. I think they both got announced the same time.
That is probably the best lens to be released in the entire year.
Which, by the way, that was the same week that the A7 IV was announced, like right before Thanksgiving. So I'm sure we were struggling that time of year last year as well. But yeah, having the combination of primes, like a 50 to an 85 to a 105 to a 135 and beyond, yeah, you're losing like a stop of light not having a 1.2 or a 1.4, but the versatility overall, like insane. 50 to 150, if I had this back in the day paired with a 28 to 70 in a concert setting, I would crush. I mean, I still crushed even with having to switch lenses, but I would have not missed those moments because I had to switch to a wide angle lens or switch to something else, or the light changed where I needed to open up the aperture. I could have just stuck with and rode with that 50 to 150 for probably 80% of the shots.
You could have rode the wave.
With Rod Wave.
Rod Wave. I still couldn't name a Rod Wave song. So with that point that you just made, this is the reason why I love primes, and primes had their place and they're still tremendous. 100%. But when you get these zoom prime, like 2.8 is the new F4 in my book. Meaning, unless it's better, meaning that 2.8 used to be the unique thing that you went for, but now that these F2s exist, 28 to 70 F2, there's some 1.8 zooms, the 50 to 150, but also in this generation, a stop of ISO doesn't matter. So going from 3200 to 6400 like doesn't really matter as much as it did back in the day when I shot 12,500 ISO with the D2H and you went to 1600. You're like, holy shit, this is crazy. Because 1600 back then is like almost like 32,000 today or 20,000. Mm-hmm. That's how much it's changed. Yeah. So yeah, good choice. That is one of the best lenses in the history of lenses ever. And I hope Canon decides to go that direction, and I hope more companies decide to go that direction to make these prime zooms.
And this was a hard one, though, to really narrow down. So I'm going to give some runner-ups and some notable mentions. I think the Sigma 300 to 600 f4 is up there, and also the new Sony 100 macro with the 2x TC that makes it that 2.8 to 1 magnification is a really unique lens as well. More of a niche lens, but those two lenses I think are quite a feat of engineering.
We have to get that review out, but
so that video should be out this week or weekend. So stay tuned for that. But let's get to best camera. This one, honestly, I'm kind of torn. Obviously, we know what it is. It's R6 III or A7 V. Which one is it? Really the two biggest cameras of the year, the two biggest releases of the year. I'm really torn here because I'd be glad to have either of them. I kind of think I might lean a little more towards the Sony side of things, but then the R6 III is great as well. So it's very hard to say. I think you would probably lean more towards the R6 III if I had to guess.
It's hard. They're both very good, like incredible cameras. They're both incredible. They both do, like one's 40 frames, one's 30 frames, right? But they both do pre-capture. They're a little different when it comes to bit depth and how they capture these things. So it's a toss-up. You have to decide on the ecosystem that you decide to go with. I think the EVF and things are great on the Canon, except for the fact that flip-out rotatable screen pisses me the fuck off.
I was going to say, you got the better screen on the Sony, the 4-axis
now you
tiltable vari-angle.
Yeah.
Partially stacked sensor, 14-bit in e-shutter.
Call them co-headliners. Co-headliners. Both of those are the camera of the year. Just because there is like it would be splitting hairs and doing a disservice to one or the other.
There's pros and cons to both for sure. And then you also got to think about the little things like third-party glass too for Sony. You can't do that with Canon.
Yeah, but now the third-party glass became an issue.
If you're shooting 30 frames per second electronic shutter. If you're still shooting 10 frames a second mechanical, which probably a decent amount of people are, but you lose out obviously on pre-capture, speed boost, stuff like that.
See, these are the things that the Sony world hasn't complained about, that Canon's gotten beat up on for a couple of years for not having third-party support, though they have a 45 1.2, which is super inexpensive, and a bunch of others. They got beat up because they're like, oh, they don't even offer it, and Sony does. And I've always mentioned with A1s and all those higher ends, you don't get the same function. Like the 300 to 600, you can't zoom and focus at the same time. And you're limited to 15, 16 roughly frames per second.
Pretty much all of those third-party lenses don't allow for focusing while zooming.
Right. And that's a bigger limitation today. Now that the consumer end camera can do pre-capture and 30 frames a second, because now you can't take advantage of it unless you go ahead and buy the Sony. Oh, they want you to buy Sony. No shit, they want you to buy Sony. Both of those cameras co-headlining best cameras of the year.
100%.
You can't pick.
And then on the opposite end, the biggest flops of the year, the worst cameras of the year.
Panasonic?
In my opinion. RX1 R3, FX2 is up there as well. The Fuji X-Half. R50 maybe even might be up there for me. That's kind of what I have to say about the worst cameras of the year. The FX2 now is pretty much dead in the water at this point because it's the A7 IV in a cinema body, but now you have the A7 V that severely outcompetes that in a non-cinema body, but you also have everything else. So the FX2 is just dead.
Let me mention that Panasonic is not the worst camera of the year. They actually put out some solid offerings for people that are looking for that ecosystem, which is not me. I'm not looking for that ecosystem, but their cameras are packed with a lot of functions. That's where I'll leave the Panasonic stuff. I don't want to, I'm not shitting on them too hard. So that we're talking about worst cameras. It was absolutely that Sony RX1
R3, yeah.
R3 is by far, and I don't give a shit what, we had these arguments in Japan with some other creators who sat there and told us that it's incredible. And I sit there and I'm like, you're full of shit. You would never buy this.
I sat there and said that. I was like, would you actually buy this if they didn't send it to you?
Well, they tried to say, oh, they absolutely would. No, you're not spending $6,000. If you had $6,000 to spend on a camera, that's not it. That's not it. The X-Half, the X-Half would have been great at $399.
Yes,
period.
Agreed.
$399.
Two severely overpriced cameras.
Yeah,
and then when it comes to most like undervalued gear, I want to bring up that category. The gear that should have made a splash but really didn't. I think the Sigma 17-40 f1.8, that APS-C lens, is a pretty sweet lens that I feel like not many people are talking about. The other big one is that Nikon 24-70 2.8 version 2, the internal focusing one. No one had their hands on with that pretty much. I feel like Nikon gave that to nobody, so it just kind of got swept under the rug. And it is a great 24-70 mid-range lens.
The problem is they're on their second version, which is all well and good, but it's not an f2. And what did I say about the 2.8? If you want uniqueness, Sony offers it, Canon offers it.
Sure, yeah.
And that's the thing. It's a great lens. I don't have it because they haven't sent it to me yet. They've offered, and there's a whole back and forth about why it hasn't been sent to me. Nothing, not Nikon's problem, but it's it's not unique. That's what we're looking for, and that's the thing that Nikon is lacking. Now they do have unique on the 600 6.3s and the 500. That range of those long ones that are still affordable, that are great.
The premium primes.
Yeah, but they lack uniqueness. 50 to 150, 28 to 70 f2. They just lack uniqueness. They're good. They just lack the uniqueness.
Agreed. And then let's get to best value gear that packs a punch for like a decent price. The Nikon Z5 II and the ZR, those two cameras, for the price, you're getting a lot of bang for your buck. The Sigma 20-200 is such a great all-around travel lens. Also, the 16-300, their APS-C version, which is like a 24-450 equivalent in APS-C.
I did like that 20-200.
Yeah,
that could be up there as one of the choices for the year. Not from the standpoint of I'm a professional, I would use this, but from the standpoint of It gives you everything you need from that ultra wide angle to 200 is a great reach if you're traveling the world.
It's more about the reach. It's a little slow, obviously not the fastest lens, but it's a $900, all-in-one zoom lens for the most part.
I took it to the US Open. That was a good one.
They did great. The Canon 45-1.2 that you brought up earlier, I think that is such a great value lens. Has a lot of quirky, weird issues to it.
Yes.
Not the best image quality, but it has some character to it. And the fact that it's under $500 is just mind-blowing.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
We definitely fell off this year with fourth party lenses. And the reason we fell off with like reviewing them is there just became way too many of them.
Way too many.
It's just like every week I'm getting a message from Seven Artisans or Viltrox or who else is like
all the Chinese brands. Yeah.
Suray, like they're all there, and they want to send these lenses, but they're all the same. It's an 85-1.4, it's a 50-1.4, it's a 35-1.4, it's this. It's like
we could barely keep up with first party lens reviews. Like how are we going to get to the fourth party ones that we like to call them? And then also like, Canon's 2.8 affordable lineup, the 16-28 and 28-70. I think they did a great job with that. And the VCM lineup too, having everything from a 20 all the way to an 85-1.4.
Those VCMs are very nice.
Because they're premium L lenses for half the price.
Like I love my 85-1.2. It's just the size difference and the ease of carrying around that 85 VCM. I would travel if I'm going to go travel and I take a 28-70. I'll take an 85. I'll take that 85-1.4 VCM with me as a secondary lens, not the 85-1.2, and I'll also take the 10-20.
Yeah, all day. And again, it's half the price. And you're missing out on what, a third of a stop? Yeah, it is. It is a different look. It is a different look.
But the compromise has to come from the weight. Is it worth the extra space in the bag? Is it going to be that big of a difference? You just have to just make those decisions.
And if you're a video shooter, the fact that you can pretty much swap out any of those lenses on that VCM lineup on a gimbal and still keep it balanced is great. You can have the entire lineup, swap it out quickly, no rebalancing, and you're good to go. Yeah. That's a big thing for video shooters, which is why they call it a hybrid lens. But I think a lot of people confuse it thinking they're mainly specific video lenses, but they're not.
Right.
And then I have one last category before we get to the predictions, which is like the most interesting, quirky type pieces of gear that came out this year. I think the Sigma BF is one of them, a very weird camera and choice from Sigma, and also the Canon 45-1.2 being that cheap, and the re-release of Canon's 2016 PowerShot ELPH, that 360 HS camera that they stripped a bunch of features, re-released it, and are now selling it for $379, which I just checked B&H. They're sold out, selling it like hotcakes.
They will not keep that in. Do you know how many messages or requests I get? Like, what's the best point and shoot? None. Anyway, but these things with a flash, a real flash, because the kids that are using them, the 16, 17, 15, 16, 17, 14, 13, whatever, the kids that are using them don't know what that harsh, they're used to cell phones.
Yep.
And cell phones don't give you that harsh flash look. And that's what these kids are liking to see now because they never grew up with it.
They want a party cam.
Which is fine. Mm-hmm. But you can't do that with your cell phone. You just can't. And so these point and shoots, even the 15-year-old ones, the 20-year-old ones, are highly sought after and selling for 2-3 times what they used to sell for. And they can't stay in stock. So good on Canon for doing it, though it had like a Digic 6 processor.
Oh, it's a 10-year-old camera. It's from 2016.
But you know what? Fire up the factory. Kids don't care. Just does it take a flash and does it take a picture? That's what they care about.
For under $400.
That's a no-brainer right there.
Yeah, it's a steal.
So.
Yeah. And then predictions. Let's get to Nikon first. I think Nikon's going to have a big year next year because we're looking at the Z9 and Z8. They need to be refreshed and updated at this point. It's been, 4 years?
Do you think they will, though?
I think they will. I think they need to because we now have the A1 II. We have the R1. Now we need an update on the Z9.
But are they going to focus on like what RED technology can do in that high-end camera? Are they going to focus more on that than the stills?
I don't know.
Because, I'm obviously harsh on certain things with Nikon, and they just put out their new firmware 5.3, where again it talks about improving the autofocus. And I sit here and say we're on 5.3 now, and every time they come out with a new one, it talks about how the autofocus has majorly improved, and it's just like we're 5 years into this just about. And yes, improvements are nice and all well and good, but anybody that started with the camera and I just keep coming back to the Canons and the Sonys do the autofocus very, very, very well right off the rip. Yeah. And any minor updates that happen are minor tweaks that you would barely notice the change in. So I just like an A7 IV does better autofocus than a Z9 at this point.
A7 V has great autofocus. Same with the R6 III. But back to Nikon, they've updated the Z50, the Z5, the Z6 lines. All of them have been refreshed in the past year and a half. Will we get a Z7 III is the other question. Or is a Z8 II going to be basically a Z7 III? Is that line dead? Is it needed?
And maybe they will come out with an updated ZFC or a new ZF.
Oh, yeah.
Again, with new colors and new features, because that seems to be where they sell a lot.
Well, and speaking of those retro cameras, let's move on to Canon. I do think they will have some sort of retro camera coming along. We've already seen the rumors from it. I also think an R7 Mark II is coming, and hopefully an R8 Mark II. I think the R7 II will be essentially a mini R5 II with a fully stacked APS-C sensor, a bird and flight user's dream. The R8 Mark II, like we've seen with the original R8, it'll basically be, I assume, an R6 III in a stripped down body, lacking a few features here and there. I do hope they give it the bigger battery, IBIS, but then it's going to be an R6 III. So it's hard to say how much they're going to strip down in an R8 Mark II. And then the retro camera will be like an R8 Mark II with no video features. I think they should really stick to stills-centric on that and sell it for like $2,000 to really compete with that ZFC and give Canon users a retro AE1 style body that hopefully has some form of grip. We've talked about this. And I think Canon will still not allow for third-party lens support for full-frame mirrorless cameras. They do for APS-C, but not for full-frame just yet. What do you think is coming from Canon?
Well, I've said it a million times about retro cameras that if you want to go retro, really go retro. Put a freaking winder on it and make me have to wind it, kind of like the Fuji X half. Make me have to wind it in order to take a picture. Like, strip everything out of it. Don't even put an LCD screen on it, but you can have an EVF, right? So that with the EVF, you have to put your eye up to it, and that's where you make all the changes and everything along those lines. But if you really want to go retro, go retro. I hope they don't go retro at all. I just personally hope they don't.
Or do best of both worlds and give us the R8 Mark II, call it that, but maybe make it kind of like the A7C II, where it has more of that sleek, kind of retro look to it slightly, but still packs a punch being an R8 Mark II.
I could see that. Canon is probably going to have a big year when it comes to lenses. What those are, I don't know. I'm hoping for prime zooms. I'm hoping for the competitor that goes against a 50 to 150. Now, I don't know that it should be a 50 to 150. Maybe it could be 85 to 180. Like, I don't know. Maybe it could just be something different. If I have a 28 to, I would love for them to have a 28 to 70 version 2, F2. That would be lighter, just lighter and smaller. That would be great. That's what I hope that they have. I hope they, for the more affordable world, come out with a 70 to 180 2.8 or an 80 to 200 2.8, just something that goes along with that affordable line.
They
of
have
lenses.
to complete that line.
Yeah. Complete that, and that would be awesome. Body-wise, I don't know that we're coming out with very much new, even though the rumors talk about like some high-end something being registered. Like, what could it be? I don't think an R3 is going to get updated unless they go R3 with a global sensor shutter sensor.
Well, this year we only saw an R6 Mark III body-wise, right, from Canon? Am I missing something?
Well, we saw the V line because I was in February, the entire Cinema V line, the lower end.
Yeah.
But body, like, look, R5 Mark II, not going anywhere. R1, not going anywhere. That just leaves the APS-C thing that you talked about, which I still don't know that they'll ever come up with a stack sensor. Like, I just, when you look at an R7 type of camera and an R10 type of camera, I get that some people want, like, oh, I get the perceived value of more reach, except for you get the actual quality of a crop sensor, which is far less quality than a full frame sensor. And so if an R8 is priced the same or less than an R7, I'm going full frame all day personally. And it shoots 40 frames a second.
Yeah, but the R7 line has always had IBIS, the bigger battery, dual card slots, like the crazy fast frame rate, like all
shitty spin wheel.
Yeah,
but the crazy fast frame rate is done. Every camera does it does 40 frames now.
Yeah, but I'm saying if the R7 Mark II is a stack sensor, the R8 Mark II is not going to be, in my opinion.
No, but they're still pumping out 40 frames. I get what you're saying.
You could do 30, 40 frames per second with a stack sensor, not have rolling shutter.
A $2,200 crop sensor camera doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, it might be less because I think the R7's $1,500. So
now,
I thought it came out at $1,500.
Did it come out at $1,500?
I believe it was $1,499, and then it went up a little with inflation, and now it's on sale for like $1,350.
We'll have to see,
because that's a big difference between something like an R5 Mark II.
Yeah, but that's what I think. I think you're going to see a bunch of lenses. I think it's a lens year, and I'm not opposed to that. I love glass.
And then Sony, moving on to them, I think we'll see an FX3 Mark II. I think that is really long in the tooth now. We're looking at like 4 years old. An A7R6, possibly, and maybe an A7S4, although I do think that line has been taken over with the FX series, and I just think they should completely kill the A7S series at this point. Just stick to the FX line, make the FX3 Mark II the best cinema hybrid type of camera that you can get in that price range.
I don't have a lot to say about the Sony cinema stuff, but what does an A7R5 replacement need to have? Right? It's already a beautiful sensor at 61 megapixels. The problem is it's a super slow shooting camera. It's a super slow readout speed. So would they end up going to like 80 or 90 megapixels? Are they going to go to 100 megapixels and make that the differentiator and make it can still be slow and it doesn't need a fast readout speed if they're focused on quality and portraits and dynamic range? Maybe that's the direction they end up going with that line, because with the A7 V now, I mean, that fills that void. You got A7 V, which is fucking speed and quality and great autofocus. You have A1 II and you have A9 III, which it's still crazy. There's an A9 III and an A1 II. It's just like, I don't know how you decide. Well, we've already talked about how you decide where to go, but both of those are great. And that leaves the A7R line to really probably go to 100 megapixels and just do something totally different.
Yeah, you could still keep it a slow shooting camera, but maybe make it the best quality sensor that anyone has ever put out with the craziest amount of dynamic range that competes with medium format or something like that. And that is your true portrait studio type camera, because you have the speed and everything else you need in all the other cameras at this point in that line.
Lens-wise, I don't know where they're going to go with lenses either. Probably, potentially updating the 400-2.8. Like, it's been out since, I mean, it's still great. Like, that was one of the lightest 400-2.8s. It's fantastic. So I don't know about replacing that, but 200-600 getting a replacement, 100-400 getting a replacement.
200-600.
Is there going to be like would they do 200-500 f4 and go super unique?
Well, now they have the 300-600 to compete with f4.
Right.
Sigma.
But they did have the 50-150. So are they going to have an ultra wide angle f2 lens?
The 12-24 hasn't been updated in quite some time too at this point.
I still never liked that lens. I still don't like it, but that's just me.
Yeah.
That 12 is just awkward. And I know I have a 10 millimeter, but that 12, the way that it works with that lens is kind of weird. Like penny in the middle, but whatever.
And then Fuji, I'm sure they'll come out with more interesting cameras, just like the X-Half, but make it actually usable and somewhat affordable this time around. I think they'll double down in that quirky film, nostalgic, like hybrid camera world that they do really well in. I don't know exactly model-wise what's coming, but Fuji has so many models now, I get confused myself.
Yeah, I have no idea. I don't pay attention to the Fuji world.
I do and don't. Personally, just because, again, I have the X106, but it's just they have the X Pro line, the XT line, the X100 line, the GFX line. It just gets to the point where it's like, man, there's so many cameras from Fuji.
I love their medium format stuff.
Their Instax line. I love that world, the Instax stuff.
Yeah, I don't usually use that, but their medium format world is interesting. Fast shooting, higher frame. Like, I don't know, make a bigger sensor, go even bigger, put 4 of them together.
16-bit RAW files.
Yeah.
One shot though, but yeah.
Yeah. Still really a cool system what Fuji has done there. They've done well.
They've kind of got their feet wet in every little camera department. You know what I mean? The medium form. I'm waiting for the full frame camera to come out one day.
Never. They've said never.
Yeah.
They said see. Never. So
I think the biggest prediction though is going to be that Sigma. They're going to make a massive splash in the camera body world and finally put like the guts of the BF into a real usable body and officially enter the mirrorless world and finally be considered like actual competition versus Sony, versus Canon, versus Nikon. Yeah, I know they've had their other mirrorless bodies out, but they've never really been usable, functional cameras, in my opinion.
Or do they buy Panasonic?
I don't think that's happening.
Right? Like, but maybe they won't make the camera because it alienates some of these other markets, right? The people that are part of the L-mount alliance. Maybe it alienates them if they start doing this. If they start competing, maybe Sony decides to shut down their system. Like, there's just like, I don't think Sony will do that, but there's got to be deeper things for them to think about, that they'll make more. Sony Sigma will still continue to make more money selling glass than if they venture down the road of making bodies and start to get into that world.
It's just a shame because we saw with the BF review how capable that camera is, especially the autofocus too. Like, it's there. It's just a weird body. It's a very, very weird body. Put that into an actual like decent body and beef it up a little more, and you've got serious competition.
Yeah.
Make like an A7V, R6 III, Z6 III style, entry level $2,000+ camera.
I don't think it's going to happen from Sigma.
We'll see. It's close. The guts are there,
Guts.
Aggro
Greg.
Overall, I think it's going to be a big year for retro and like point and shoot cameras. We've seen that trend going upwards, and camera manufacturers starting to double down on that kind of stuff. And will it be like the year for global shutters? Because we've only got the A9 III so far, and Canon and Nikon has yet to respond to Sony.
I think Nikon will be the last to do it.
Or is the Z9 II going to have something?
I guess Sony makes their sensors, so it's will Sony? No, I mean, how many years do we have to wait to get that sensor into that tech? Because they lock up some of the tech for a certain generation. I don't think you get that sensor tech until the A9 III II comes out, potentially.
That's going to be quite some time.
And Steven, will we have any big trips this year from any of these companies?
Yeah. It's been a minute since we've been on a press trip.
Other than Japan. That was I
don't even consider that like a press trip though. Because the R6 III, like we only saw it for 5 minutes during a presentation and that's it.
Yeah. Well, Canon did a bunch. I mean, I was in Hawaii with Canon.
Oh, yeah.
I was not invited to Kondo, partly because I told them never to invite me again. Nikon doesn't do trips. I did a Insta360 trip to Germany. That's the Sony doesn't really do trips anymore.
Yeah.
Which is fine. We don't need to go on those trips. We've said it. Just send me the damn camera. Let me cook. Let me cook.
I hope they keep up that trend of all of them. Canon, Sony. Canon usually doesn't give us a few weeks like we did this time around with the R6 III. Typically, we get like a few days or we go on a press trip specifically for that camera launch. The R6 III was much different this time around. And I'm hoping they learn from that and we'll move forward doing that kind of, hey, take it for 3 weeks, play with it, really put it through its paces.
But don't take it anywhere public where you might be seen. Ignored. Denied.
Oh man.
Denied.
Yeah. That's my favorite, is that these manufacturers tell Jared specifically, don't take it to any large public gathering events. Oh, let me bring it to a Phillies game. Let me bring it to a concert. Let me bring it to a union soccer game.
Yeah. I ignore
everything I shouldn't be doing.
Because it makes their product look that much better when it comes out.
It really does. And it's such a great environment to test it out in.
Yeah, I will say this, pulling back to the very beginning where we talked about Linus Tech Tips. He talks about the dynamic of of how it works with working with a company and how it's mutually beneficial for them to give gear and for us to review gear, even if we might say something negative. Mm-hmm. And he gave a little story about someone said something negative and the company basically used some mob tactics to tell them that either get in line or we don't send you gear anymore. And he said he ripped them a new asshole.
I think that was NVIDIA, right?
NVIDIA. Yeah. Way back in the day he talked about. Yeah. But yeah, it is. We talk about this with companies all the time. Like, look, I know we're not going to talk about every single little crappy lens that you release, but also on the flip side, I don't work for you. But on the flip side, we get you publicity and you give us gear to get that publicity, but it's not all going to be positive. But you got to let me be. You got to let us do what we're going to do. We say it like it is.
I love when certain camera brands will tell us that it's a privilege to get the camera early and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, Yeah, it's also a privilege for us to review it for you guys and to put out a video that has probably 200,000 views in a week and one of the biggest videos on that specific product during the launch.
One of the best. I say the best. It may not get the most views compared to some other channels in certain situations, but I think that people rely, and you guys that listen to this repeatedly and haven't been scared off, understand that the stuff that we put out is thorough. It's done in the real world.
If we have the time.
If we have the time. But even if we don't, we're still going to make it the best of the way that we could make it and not just spit off a bunch of specs at you.
Yep.
So is that all we got for predictions, Stephen?
That is it. Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot more, but off the top of my head, that's most of the stuff that I could think of.
There's a lot of stuff in the works. As always, it never ends. This is not the end of anything with 25 ending and the beginning of 26. It's just a continuation of all this stuff. But we do have some goals set forth for the new year. And
I'll be having a baby in a few weeks.
Yeah, Jasmine.
Cinderella.
It's going to be Jasmine.
Yep.
Isn't there already a family member named Jasmine?
No.
There's no Jasmine in the family?
Not that I know of.
Oh. It might be. It's got to be a Disney character that's a girl.
It's 100% not a Disney character. I'll tell you that right now.
LaToya.
I would never let that slide.
What? You named your dog Chip?
That's a dog, not a human being.
Okay. All right. Well,
I feel like you can experiment with dog names. Like you can call them kind of whatever.
Give me a hint.
Not a person.
Give me a hint.
No.
Come on.
Nope.
Give me one hint.
You'll find out in about 5 weeks when she's here. Anyway, I do want to thank everyone for another great year. Thank you to the diehards that text in week after week or
we
DM
haven't given
me.
the text in number for a long time. 313-710-9729.
Yep. Feel free to text us on there. We typically read them all, but we definitely do not respond to them all because some of them are really like too long, didn't read.
Yeah. Yep.
But all I ask for in return is leave a comment on Spotify, leave a review on Apple Podcasts, give us some feedback. Hashtag Feed Morgan for the real OGs out there. But yeah,
who's 21
year.
or 22 now?
Jeez, man, crazy.
She got fed and she's in college. She's probably finishing her second year now. All right. Well, yeah. So thank you guys for listening for whatever, all these years. And we continue to evolve and we continue to change and we continue to do what we do. We've got ideas and goals for the future. We'll see what happens. We'll see what doesn't happen. But we continue on as we move forward. As I said earlier, I'll probably end up sitting and talking to the podcast world myself for the Jews out there, which account for only 0.2% of the population of the world. So it will be a very low listened to podcast episode.
There's going to be 17 episodes coming out in the next 2 weeks.
Every 5 minutes. Guys, I had another idea.
Well, that's the other thing is we've realized like we just get an insane drop in listenership, viewership, whatever over the next 2 weeks. So it's not even worth putting out content, really.
Oh, and I hate when podcasts do like they put out something that's already been listened to.
Oh yeah,
that's not my jam.
Yeah, same.
That's not my jam. All right, thank you guys. This is episode 180. I'm Jared, and I'm gonna sign off for this with Steven. Jared Polin, photoshoot.com. See ya.
Bye. See you next year.